Hello. Going to look a little bit at the balance scorecard. So let me go ahead and pull up the presentation. Go ahead and share the screen, pull up the presentation. Okay. So the balance scorecard, let me go ahead and get that set up. Okay. So the balance scorecard is a great way to evaluate performance of different parts of your company, the company on the whole, that includes basically both financial and non-financial measures. So So the balance scorecard, I think that's its real strength in that it uses financial and non-financial measures of business performance. I think it's very much of a long-term approach in that it does not just include financial, but it includes other measures as well. You're thinking more long-term. It has four parts: the customer, learning and growth, internal business processes, and financial. So financial would just be one of four parts where the business unit or the part of your business would be evaluated. So a business will basically, if they use the balance scorecard, will find about 3 to 7 key performance indicators, KPI, that can be quantitatively measured in each of these areas. So let's look at the first one, customer. Now, if you were to do the balance scorecard, what would typically happen if you're a balance scorecard company and it's initiated properly across your company, then your manager would come to you and about a month before the start of the period, which you're going to be measured, typically a year, maybe a quarter, whatever period of time it is, about a month before, and you would come up with about 3 to 7 different key performance indicators, KPI, in the four areas that we mentioned. The first one being the customer here. And all of them have to be quantitatively measurable. So for the customer, these are just some typical ones that you might see, and there could be some others as well. But I decided customer satisfaction, and a lot of times you would measure it based on customer surveys. So let's say you're given a goal of 90% customer satisfaction, and so it would be measured by customer surveys. Customer retention. Let's say you're given a goal of 90% customer retention. It's a lot cheaper to keep current customers than it is to go out and get new ones to replace them if they leave. So it's better to put a lot into customer retention, and this would reward you if you were able to maintain certain goals as far as customer retention, and then maybe adding a certain number of new customers um, also could be part of this with the customer. Again, everything is quantitatively measurable, and the manager would have the ability to kind of monitor it through the year, and basically the goals would be set up in advance of the period to where you did have a little time to where if you could come up with an action plan in order to make sure that you meet all these goals during the year. The next one would be learning and growth, which is the employees. Now, learning and growth, do you have happy employees? Are your employees satisfied? So, one KPI that's typically used here would be employee job satisfaction. Many employers have their employees fill out a job satisfaction survey every year. And let's say you were given a goal as your unit needs to have at least 90% job satisfaction. So that would be your goal. That would be you would be given that goal. Employee retention. When employees leave, they take a lot of knowledge with them, experience with them. You then have to go out and spend money and time to replace them. And then you have to train them and bring them up to speed. And so it's a lot cheaper to keep good employees than it is to replace them. Another might be, certain levels of employee training or education. This could also be something related to learning and growth with your employees. Again, you'd be given quantitatively measurable goals in all these areas. Internal business processes. This is basically how well do you do the things you do internally? How well do you produce your product or service your customers or make on-time deliveries or sales? It would really relate to how well do you do what you do. Some things here that could be used, and there's a lot of them. This is, again, just a few, just a handful to give you an idea. But one would be collections from customers. How good are you at collecting debts from your customers. That might be a measure of performance. On-time deliveries. Um, how good at you are making sure that your customers' goals are met in a timely manner. Product and service quality, making sure that your service, your product, your customers are served in a very efficient and prompt and on-time manner. Um, I would say something like low amounts of waste with production. Again, this would be another judge of your internal business performance. And financial, this would go on to things like return on investment, ROI, residual income, return on assets. Several financial ratios could possibly be used here. Just maybe a net income goal, just a flat goal, cash flows, a certain amount of cash flows or operating cash flows. All of these could be good financial indicators. So, what I would say about the balance scorecard then is you're given goals in all these areas, and then your manager would come after the period is finished and sit down with you and see how did you do. Now, I really like the balance scorecard because I really like not putting all the emphasis on financial measures. And that's what the balance scorecard does. I've seen too many shortcuts over the years or short term decisions where managers or units of the company were only judged off meeting purely financial goals. Where if you do and implement the balance scorecard and use it, then you're judging on non financial goals as well as financial goals. And what I think this does is it leads to more long-term thinking. And kind of think about it this way. Here's kind of another good way to think about it. Companies that please their customers, companies that do things right internally, companies that are very well liked by their employees and their employees enjoy working there tend to do very well. And a lot of the financial results, if you do those, all three of those well, then a lot of the financial results will take care of themselves. You don't tend to see the best companies in America, the best companies to work for in America, like the Fortune rankings. You don't tend to see those companies file bankruptcy. The best places to work in America, the best companies as far as customer service, you don't tend to see them go out of business. Um, it's something that, again, if you take care of your customers, you take care of your employees, and you do a great job with your internal processes, a lot of times the financial results will take care of themselves. And that's kind of the theme of the balance scorecard. Now, the balance scorecard, it does take a while to initiate. It does take a while to do it right. Typically, it starts at the top of the company and it works its way down. And it does take typically a year or two to really get going properly. And if a company does not have the patience to kind of see that process through, then that's when you see sometimes companies start the balance scorecard, but they're just not able to finish it or set it up because they just don't give it the time necessary to get it going. So that is the balance scorecard. I think it is a great way to evaluate business performance. And that is all for today.